Oh, so welcome everybody. We're just waiting for more people to arrive for this little fireside chat.
It is a very stormy day here on this end.
Yeah.
So a fireside chat sounds just beautiful.
And Annemiek, she is in the Netherlands, in Holland. And I'm up here in Northern California, and we have a very warm day today, springtime, but it's still early morning. So I have my shawl. All right, Annemiek. First of all, thank you so much for agreeing to joining me in this little chat. And it's so nourishing to be able to connect like we do. I admire your dedication to your path and the way that you are willing to dream big. And the result, you have built this academy for soul-based coaching, which I admire so much. And today we are going to speak about our upcoming practice immersion, 21-day sadhana, the living goddess, it's called. And yeah, I just feel open to where we want to explore, where we want to go. Living goddess for me is such a wide field. It's totality, it's everything. But she's also very precise and specific. So let's see where we're going.
I really would love to, because I was feeling into our chat and I was just kind of feeling into the living goddess. And I was, also thank you for having me, by the way, because without your work and without having had the opportunity to study with you for the last, I think we're coming on 9 years or something that I've been part of the online sadhanas, everything that I do in the world would not look like this. So it's been such an important field and portal for me that you've been cultivating and holding for, not just for me, but for so many other women. And I really want to thank you for that and really honor you for that. Yeah.
There's something we do in our, when we come together to practice and retreat. And we practice to fully receive when somebody offers a reflection. To receive someone's love and feedback is actually an act of love. Yeah. So oftentimes we tend to kind of dismiss it like, it's nothing. So anyway, so I'm going to do the practice now. And it goes like this. Deeply received.
Wonderful. Yeah, and so when I was feeling into like where can it go today, it brought me to your website and it brought me to some words that you've written, and I thought it would be so beautiful to presence them in this space, and maybe you can do some more practicing receiving. So yeah, let's start with that. I walk in my dignity, my gaze rooted in galaxies. I'm carried by mountains, my feet wet in her. She is clear as water, a flawless mirror, the sparkling roots of totality. Not coming, not going, not past, not future, not up or down, in or out, not here, not there, not before, not after. Through the rain I hear her whisper, steady your aim, keep your eyes on me. It is time to stop outsourcing the holy.
Mm.
And when I was reading that, that moves me so deeply. Brings me straight to that place that I find whenever I find myself in practice with you. You want to speak to what happens in you in this moment when you receive that?
I'm aware of an edge within me that actually just recently has become conscious. Because although I have dedicated my entire adult life to this practice, to preparing my vessel for more and more of this alive, creative power that we call Goddess, I am, in my personal journey, led to an edge of unworthiness. Although, you know, in the goddess path, we see goddess as totality, as all things. Yeah, she's the kind of vibrational aliveness and creativity that creates all form. Subtly, without knowing it, I have created a subtle, in a subtle way, I exclude myself as being her. You know? I meet those edges of resistance in me when I see people claim I'm a goddess, yeah, or using it as a brand, as a kind of a flippy kind of thing, yeah, like, oh, I'm a business goddess, I'm a, you know, all this goddess, which of course is just a way of speaking, but as a devotee of goddess, someone who has been deep in sadhana for more than 30 years now, that has always kind of been a, oh, like, I don't want to go there. I see goddess as so much more bigger than little human me. But here I am discovering a subtle edge within me where I see that that kind of humility and devotion to the different forms of goddess can also very subtle turn into avoidance of the power within me. You know, that vast warmth, which is just so splendorous and so immense, and that my unworthiness can just become another identity, actually, that just can kind of keep me circling around the door. And when I feel deeper into that door of knowing her as me, I feel as if I'm filtering to a field that is very collective, that has to do with women, you know, for like in generations being persecuted and judged for being connected to goddess, to being wanting to, you know, to let life unfold from that intimacy, from that connection, from that power. It's almost like that power could harm others or myself. So that's where I am at. That's where I am in my own practice, where, you know, I love this term from Buddhism that they called near enemies, you know, where the opposite of what I desire is easy to detect. Yeah, so the opposite of love, like is like what is ignorance or hate or indifference, it's easy to see. But for example, a near enemy of compassion could be pity. It looks the same, but it has a different vibration. And this is where I see humility, devotion. Can also have a near enemy of avoiding responsibility, avoiding, how do we own our power without it being an ego trip? Yeah, how do we own our power without that becoming a new identity? That excites me.
Mm. And these are just a few little bits around the edges, right? These are just a few small themes that come up so easily. And as you said, as we started, like the living goddess is so vast and so wide. And so there's so much to explore. Where are you going to take us, Chameli, in this next journey of this sadhana?
I want to explore, what is it when we move closer to the warm, vast warmth, light within us? What are the edges that we meet? Yeah, it can be an edge of fear of power. It can be an edge of unworthiness. It can be an edge around desire, has also been an edge for me. One of the myths we're going to explore is a myth from my tradition, from the Nordic path, from Northern Europe, from yours too. And this is a myth that tells a story. There's one part of the story where there is an elfin goldsmith who's married to wisdom, Alvitr, all-knowing wisdom. And at one point she leaves him to go back, to return to source, return to God as Hel. And he sits back, and instead of chasing her, chasing wisdom who left him, he sits down and he begins to create golden rings. And the gold is a very old symbol for goddess and for wisdom. So here he's trying to make his own wisdom. He knows if he creates the wisdom ring, he will be united with his beloved again. And it's such a beautiful image to see him sit there in the heat and the sweat and the longing and the desire for her. But he doesn't let that energy spills out into random action. He distills it. He points it. He dares to be in the fire of his desire, and in that he creates the ring of wisdom. And this for me is a map for all of us, that we cannot take another person's golden ring and think that we receive wisdom. We can be inspired and learn the craft of creating rings, but we have to be in that heat and the sweat and the cold and the desire ourselves. And on the path, we have to create many rings that are not it. Because in that process, we are initiated as wisdom, not something that is stolen or borrowed. So this is for me a map of what are the rings that are maybe not the ring of wisdom, but the rings we have to create, not as a failure. It's not a distraction from the path. We have to create, like it's said in the myth, that he creates 99 rings before he creates his ring of wisdom. So it's not like, for me, this is sadhana. For me, this is the love affair with goddess, which has to include the heat, which has to include the dissolution, the alchemy, the process, the friction for it to be your ring of wisdom. Yeah, a wisdom that nobody can give to you, nobody can take from you.
Yeah. Oh, that is so much in that I can already start to feel, and no doubt there will be much more as I start to be in sadhana with you. I can just one thing that's really resonating for me is that at some point I actually created my own ritual around my connection with Goddess, and the only way that I could do that was with a golden ring. And for a long time, I had so many questions around why does that need to be. But you've just given me a piece that kind of gives me goosebumps, in the sense that it helps me to understand what the part of the processes that have been going on for me in me for years have been about. And I so recognize what you were saying earlier about when I look at my own practice, and maybe this is something other people can relate to too, but that there is this sense of like, it's such an intimate experience that I really shy back from talking about it, because it feels like this is mine and I don't want it to, but at the same time, you know, I don't want it to leave an imprint for other people, because I want them to find their own path too. I don't want to be in that space where I'm, you know, this is my inner part of my inner journey, and so it's that edge of taking responsibility and being who I am in the world with all of my gifts, and not wanting to cross a line there somewhere. I think that's an edge that I'm recognizing, or kind of feeling resonate in me as you're speaking, and I'm sure that the unworthiness or the feeling invisible can be other edges that people might feel as they're starting to go into that practice.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I had a huge kind of shift into a deeper devotion and service to that vast warmth within me. And I remember at that point, I was right when I was, you know, that was 20 years ago, and I was, you know, young and a lot of insecurity, a lot of trauma that I was working to heal. And yet there was this recognition of a self that I call the vast warmth within me, which is free and which is limitless and which is resourceful. And there was just nothing more I desired in my life than to find ways for that vast warmth to also inform how I speak and move and embody life. And I remember I was starting to teach, and I had such a shaky legs and dry mouth, and I couldn't, you know, English is not my first language, I couldn't find the words. And yet I was standing there in this kind of public humiliation, because my love, like I had fallen in love with that project, that service, that exploration of embodying that vast warmth. And when you fall in love, you know, like nothing can, it's not about discipline or having to do it, or breakthrough. You just do it because you're in love. Yeah. So I remember, I'm sure there's still videos on YouTube from this period, you know, where I'm just like, I just stutter my way through. But in that, there was this recognition that it doesn't really matter if I'm afraid, like the love is bigger than the fear. And I remember a little broken me. Here I am going to like speak, you know, for the goddess, or try to put words into that, which is impossible to put into words. And there was a crossroad right there, because I could go down the path of little broken me from Bergen, Norway, has no right to put those words in my mouth, or like, you know, I'm not perfect, I'm not healed, I'm not fit, you know, all of this. Or there was a sense for me, it was a sense of urgency and love, like, no, like, it is not a mistake. I haven't given this window to presence beyond my personal soap opera. I'm going to give my life to that. That's a miracle. And if I'm going to, you know, stumble my way, stuttering my way, trying to in any way serve that in the world, so be it. Like, there was just something. So I had to accept that this broken, imperfect, perfect me is, you know, the package I have in this lifetime. And that has, I kind of, you know, been, that is how I've been navigating fear and insecure, all of these things. It is a matter of what I desire and where I put where I plant my roots. And that is in that love. And then you deal with whatever comes in the way. Yeah. Up till menopause. So up till just the past years where I was, you know, put into a process that it feels like I've been preparing for my whole life, where I was put into the fire and the underworld, and where there is just a new layer of, like I said, you know, meeting those very subtle edges of unworthiness, new, deeper invitation to merge with her. Yeah.
And all of that is the living goddess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of those really incredibly important parts of your teachings and your work for me are about how nothing is excluded from
Yes.
our experience and also from our spiritual path. And that is so incredibly key to how I experience my life now as well. Do you want to speak a little bit more about that?
I love, one of the aspects that I love about the goddess path is that she comes in many, many different forms, many, many, many different forms. And you know, the understanding in this perspective is that all of these forms are just different frequencies, different appearances of one totality, of one energy. Yeah, it's the same energy, but taking different forms. Some of these forms are repulsive. Some of them are, you know, is the hag and the witch in the forest, is the goddess with the blood coming out of her mouth, is big, vast, darkness. It's all these different forms that many of us would call, you know, repulsive or something unwanted. And some of them are splendorous, beautiful. Yeah. And, you know, many of us want to create all of them splendorous and beautiful. But there's a point. There's an important invitation to relate to Goddess in all her forms. In this, we are weaving ourselves back into a more multidimensional human embodiment, which is more congruent and aligned with how life is. We are reprogramming, like we are recovering from this addiction to only the light and only the pretty and only the controllable and only the understandable and rational. Yeah. So here we are weaving ourselves, retrieving a wisdom that is so multidimensional. And if she appears repulsive or desirable, both are in an invitation for the goddess practitioner to see that I can engage with appearance. I can say, I don't want that, I want that, like we do all day long in our lives. Yeah, we get tripped up in the appearance and we fight against it, we try to fix it. In our path, the appearance is an invitation to see that this is an appearance of a much deeper reality. So this is why those of us who have moved closer to the dark goddess, for example, recognize her as love, or recognize her as the one who will devour all the patterns that don't serve me anymore, that I may cling to and insist are who I am, but she will eat it up, and it will feel like a brutal thing, maybe a failure, or, you know, our path has gone astray. But this is moments of initiation in the goddess path, where we then, you know, that's the moment when we, that, you know, have that moment when you stop after banging your head trying to change your partner for forever, trying to say it in a different way, try to do it this way, and you keep doing the same, thinking that one day he will get it, or she will get it, or they will get it. And then there comes a moment where there's a pause and there is a dropping in to the experience I'm having in my body. What is this panic? What is this desperate need to change my partner? What is it in me? Not to say that maybe there are habits in the partner that they have to take care of, but here's a portal into an intimacy where we begin to see that even this contraction, maybe there's a fear of being out of control if my partner is all over the place, or not, keeping agreement, or not doing, something. It's a sense of losing control in me, and there is the door. And it's such a paradox, because in this path, even panic and fear of losing control or anger can be doors into the sacred, into the holy, into a deeper vibration. But we have to go through those rings. Yeah, there's no way. Like, so many of us go deeper into the path, and then we hit some places and we think, oh, this is not the path for me. Something has gone wrong. But it's like it's designed to be like a pressure cooker. Like you will meet those places, because that vast warmth within all of us is invested in us becoming free.
Yes, and I think that is exactly what I've been experiencing, that sense of ever growing, like more space to breathe, but also a sense of coming home into myself, and not saying that life is all of a sudden without these dark parts, right, or without the challenging parts, because it's just part of life. But I am rooted somewhere else now, and I think this is part of the value for me of the continued practice of really opening up to at each level that is presenting itself, so that I can keep inviting myself to root in that deeper place. Yeah, just listening
How would you describe that? It's so beautiful, you say, but all of this is happening, but I'm rooted in a deeper, in a different place now. How would you describe that?
Such a beautiful question. I think that there is I found like a layer or an aspect of myself that is outside of time and space, but it also is in my body. So it's not I used to be able, I used to be one of those people who could very easily go into like some higher space with my thoughts and just kind of disconnect from my body. But now it's much more of I can stay in my body and find that more expansive space from within. Does that make some sort of sense? Because it is that space where there is very little words for, and this is part of the work that I do now is about inviting in that space into people's lives, through a different kind of modality maybe, but it very much goes to this space, and I continue to struggle to find words for it, because it is in a way it is the unnameable, right? Yeah, hopefully that gives you a sense of what that's like for me.
Yeah, I think the poets are the ones, or the artists, or the musician even, that can transmit what it is. And nevertheless, I think it is very important, that kind of clumsy work, to also bring it, out of an idea that spirituality is something separate from life. yeah, something esoteric, something we do once a week, or like. So I admire your attempts to put it into practical language. I think for those of us, like for me, I'm in a devotional relationship with God. That is my path, my life, work, is what is the center of my life. And nevertheless, that's just like one expression of something that is our natural state. Yeah. So there are, so many people who would not relate to the goddess path, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the vast warmth, presence, nameless space within them, because it's who we are. All of these different paths that, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, all beings are coming to me in all directions. We are all going home, in our different ways. And for me, it feels so important when we see in the world today, this goddess practice, or rooting ourselves in that spaciousness that is more resourced, we are more awake to choice and how to speak and act in our world. I think it's essential to navigate all the different points of conflict and opposition, different opinions, and all the things that is going on today. Yeah. Spirituality is not a hobby, it's not an extra thing. It's it's the very essence of who we are and everything we do in our lives.
Yeah. And I think this is also why the way that you offer sadhana is such a powerful way for me. It really feels like a deep immersion, and yet I am living my life with all of the things that I'm asking of myself or that are asked of me, and it is not separate. It is all in the same space, and that is just something that just feels so right. It just feels so whole. Yeah, so thank you for bringing us that in that way, that opportunity to bring that extremely essential part of ourselves into very physical and embodied practice through sadhana.
Yeah. Oh, my dogs are impatient now. We have to go out in the woods. Yes, we begin the next sadhana. We have been doing these sadhanas for more than 10 years, I think. Twice a year, 21 day of practice that we can do from home. It's really a non-judgmental space where you do it in, that's it's like part of the intention, the project is that, like you spoke up in the beginning, is to each one of us to find that intimacy with that which breathes us. It's also, again, a recovering from that wound of giving away, our connection to God to a middleman. Here, we are supported to really establish that intimacy with ourselves and to see that rituals and your devotion or your curiosity of God is uniquely yours. And there's a wisdom, if you just follow that thread in, there's a wisdom, ring of wisdom that is yours and yours alone. So we start April 20th for 21 days. The link is in our bio here on Awakening Women and on my page. So welcome everybody. And thank you so much, Annemiek, for being in this conversation today.
Yeah, thank you. It's so juicy, and I very much look forward to the sadhana again.
Wonderful. And if you're curious about the soul-based coaching, just click on Annemiek's bio and you will learn all about it. All right, thank you, everybody.